So back in the day, you rode around on dirt bikes, and then years later you wanted a road bike, or maybe you got in an accident on the street and wanted to take some time off before hopping back on that horse. Well, in the last few years, we've seen an explosion in the kind of technologies that motorcycles have, the styles available, and basically any kind of power you could want. You can go from a complete wet noodle like the Gixxer 250 to an absolutely Chad Gixxer 1000 if you want. But if you've spent some time off the bikes, is that really the best choice? Today I wanted to break down the best motorcycles in all the different styles for riders who haven't ridden in a couple of years and who might have not kept up with all of the developments in the industry. I'm going to assume that before a rider took a break, they were familiar enough with a motorcycle to not completely yeet themselves into the sun, but that doesn't mean you're going to start seeing a bunch of leader bikes and hyper nakeds on this list, because even in the hands of an experienced rider, they're a lot to handle. These are the kind of bikes that are outside the scope of a beginner rider because they're not good tools to learn how to ride a motorcycle on, but you could consider these a list of second or third motorcycles if you wanted to think that way. Hey, what do you know? 2 lists for the price of 1. Would you look at that? I'm also going to go ahead and assume that you're looking to buy one of these bikes new, so any prices listed will be MSRP, but it might be worth buying used as a returning rider, just in case you're rustier than you think. But let's dive right on in with a sport bike offering, since I know that's what you're here for. A bike that's for the true track rat who wants to spend more time in a leather gimp suit than is recommended for any healthy adult. The Kawasaki Ninja ZX6R, or the 636. This is for the guy who started on a little Ninja 250 back in the day and maybe graduated to an old R6 from the turn of the century and has some experience going fast. If that sounds like you and you're looking to get back on the track, there's pretty much no better bike. First of all, you're getting that Cheater 600, a 636cc inline 4 that's putting down a potent 131 horsepower and 52 foot-pounds of torque, which is more than enough to keep you entertained. But what's going to blow you away is how much progress these bikes have made in just a few years. Old 600s would be lucky to see 100 horsepower or 110, with tube steel frames, practically ancient brake calipers, and wobbly suspension that worked well enough, sure, but can't hold a candle to the modern components we have now. The looks have also changed quite a bit, which might be polarizing if you prefer the classic look of a boxy 90s sport bike or the rounded edges of the early 2000s bikes, but there's no doubt that the modern ZX6R is all business. The best part is that you get a brand new showroom shiny ZX6R for $9,999 without ABS, and let's face it, if you're really serious about hitting the track, you're going to end up turning that stuff off anyway. Now we move from sport bikes to something a bit more classic. If you had a Bonneville back in the day or a CB750, well, you'll be happy to know that basically all manufacturers have embraced their heritage models and brought them back with fuel injection, ABS, rider modes, and all the modern goodies. You're pretty much spoiled for choice here, so I'm actually going to give you 3 options. If you're looking for that old school Bonneville vibe, then just go get a new Bonneville. They make about 1 million different Bonneville models nowadays, but if it were my money, I'd grab the Thruxton 1200. Yeah, I know the Thruxton R is just $2,400 more, but remember, you're just getting back into riding, so maybe don't go full potato right out of the gate. These are classic motorcycles made modern, and if you want a cafe racer look, there's none better. But let's say you want a modern motorcycle made classic. For that, there's nothing better than the CB650R, a screaming little inline 4 modern Honda build quality with classic retro looks with a modern flair. Not to mention it's making a solid 84 horsepower, which will keep you entertained all day. It's definitely not as pretty as the Thruxton, but Honda can make one heck of a bike. Finally, if you want a classic motorcycle that's made old, you can still grab yourself a Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. Basically, they took an old bike, slapped fuel injection on it, and called it a day. If you're looking for a truly old school ride, this is it. It helps that it's a pretty cheap motorcycle too, let's be honest. But what if you're a cruiser boy, a leather daddy looking to get back in the saddle and reclaim your rebellious streak? Well, I'm actually not going to recommend a Harley here, much to my own and your chagrin. Instead, I'm going with the Indian Scout 60. But Spite, why no full-blown Scout? I want all the power and torques of the Freedom Machine. Well, the Scout is actually a very fast cruiser, like way faster than its brakes can handle, and if you've been off the bike for a little while, you want to be able to slow yourself down if you get into a butt-puckering situation. The best part about the 60 is that you only lose a few ponies at the top end, down from 100 to 78, so you're still going to be leaving Dynaboys in your dust. You do lose the 6th gear in the transmission, which is a bit of a bummer, but having ridden the bigger Scout, the 6th gear is mostly just a highway gear anyway, so you don't lose that much by not having it. The main boon is that the Scout 60 is actually a more stealthed out motorcycle. Whereas the Big Scout has everything chromed out, you can expect the Scout 60 to have a metallic black finish, which I think looks cooler on a cruiser anyway. It's also cheaper at $8,999 without ABS, but where could you go if you wanted to ignore me and get yourself a shiny new Scout for free? If only some super cool folks on YouTube were giving one away for free. Oh wait, we're some super cool folks on YouTube who are giving away a Scout for free. You might have thought that some of the motorcycles in the classic section sounded familiar too. We're currently giving away a Triumph Street Scrambler, basically an off-road version of the Bonneville, and we gave away a CB650R earlier in 2020. All you need to do to get entered is click the link down below and head over to YammieNoob.co. You'll be able to get yourself signed up, but you'll also gain access to our Discord server, which is the best place to hang out and talk bikes with squids from all over the world. We've even got a group ride feature on the website where you can put together meetups with those bikers IRL. You'll be able to help us pick out mods for the bikes, get access to behind the scenes content, access to Yamcast live streams, and all that good stuff. But if you don't want any of that, you can go over to YammieNoobMerch.com and get yourself some high quality merch where every dollar you spend is an entry to win. But if for some reason none of that interests you, you might as well hit the subscribe button down there and get us closer to that 1 million subscriber mark where we will unveil the Turbo Busa. Seriously, the Turbo Kit is in hand. It's sitting in the shop right now, but we're not putting it on the Busa until you subscribe. You're the one keeping us from achieving our destiny, Jeff. Check the links down below and subscribe if you haven't already. Jeff. Okay, so we've covered cruiser riders, sport bikes, retro bikes, but none of that stuff appeals to you. You're an adventurous sort, but not the kind of rider who wants to brag about their adventures. You actually want to go out and see things. Well, if you grew up with dirt bikes and want to ride a motorcycle that can handle on-road and off-road silliness, the best choice out there has to be the KTM 690 Enduro or the Husqvarna 701 Enduro. And yes, the script says Husky because I can't spell Husqvarna without looking at it online. Why Husqvarna spelled stupid? That aside, they're basically the same motorcycle, so the real question is, do you want orange or blue? They're both packing KTM's 693cc thumper, which puts down 74 horsepower and weighs in at just over 350 pounds. It's a bike that's just as confidence-inspiring at highway speeds as it is crawling along the trail. Now, before people start crying favoritism down in the comments section, yes, my SMCR is based on this platform, but it's not just me saying that this is a great bike. Just Google up some reviews and you'll be hard-pressed to find a bad one. The bike is a little expensive at $11,899, but it's got a great suite of technical features and a vibrant aftermarket full of squids doing all sorts of goofy stuff with these bikes. Also, and this might just be me, but these bikes are so much fun. You can wring their neck all day long and they just keep thumping away. But if you're looking for a bike that's capable of playing off-road but can really munch up highway miles, a dual sport isn't for you. You're looking for an adventure bike, and the best one out there for you is actually the Triumph Tiger 850 Sport. We recently had a Tiger 850 Sport in the shop, and it was genuinely surprising how good it was. It was comfortable, it was torquey, and it looked really good in person. One of the best things about it was how well-mannered and stately it was. We have a bunch of videos going into way more detail about it than I can here, but after my time in the saddle, I can say that as a returning rider, this would be a great option. Now, obviously, there's an elephant in the room in the form of the Tenere 700. That's another one where people can't stop saying good things about it, but that bike is more tuned for off-road riding than highway munching, so consider it two sides of the same coin. If you're looking for a motorcycle that feels great on-road with the ability to hit a gravel road, then go with the 850. But if you're really looking to hit harder trails, the Tenere might be for you. The only problem is you can't actually buy a Tenere right now. As soon as they become available, they get scooped up instantly, but you can get a Tiger 850 Sport a lot easier, so pick your poison. Now, if you want to do big miles and you want to hit a track on the same bike, then you're going to need a sport tourer, and my favorite sport tourer in the entire category is the Ducati Super Sport. Don't let the name fool you. The Super Sport is actually not a super sport, as infuriating as that sounds. It's a bike that's been designed from the ground up for longer trips, so it has relaxed ergonomics, higher bars, wider seat, and accommodation for panniers if you want to go full dad mode. But if you're thinking that means a watered down experience, then you're dead wrong. It's got a 950cc V-twin engine that's putting down 100 horsepower and 69 foot-pounds of torque. Nice. It's every bit a Panigale for the street, but it's a bike that you can actually spend all day on. As far as Ducati goes, this one's not too bad, starting at $13,495 with a TFT dash, full suite of electronics, and a 405-pound dry weight. If you step it up to the S model, the main addition is an Öhlins suspension, but let's be honest, that's not going to make a big difference to 90% of the riders out there. Next up, I need to talk about a naked bike, something sporty, comfortable, but doesn't come wrapped in plastic, because who needs to spend an extra 45 minutes taking a bunch of fairings off just to do an oil change? Now, I desperately wanted to put another KTM on this list because KTM is the best, but in the interest of fairness, I figured I'd go with an absolute classic, the MT-07. Sure, this one is a bit of an obvious choice, but these bikes are just so much fun, and at the end of the day, that's all I care about. If a bike has all the fancy components in the world, but it's not fun to ride, I'm not gonna ride it. The MT-07 will put a smile on your face every time you get on the bike, and it's got that cross-plane twin sound which will have you dunking on Z650 boys all day. Sure, it doesn't handle all that well, but at the end of the day, you're not Valentino Rossi, so just slow down and enjoy the ride. The new MT-07 has kind of a funny looking headlight that I'm not a fan of, but it has an updated LCD dash which it desperately needed, so give a little, get a little, I suppose. The best part is that this bike is dirt cheap at $7,699, which is a lot of smiles per dollar. The MT-07 could be considered a beginner bike, sure, but it is best in the hands of someone with some miles under their belt, so if you're getting back into riding and want a standard naked bike, this is the way to go. Now how about something from left field, a motorcycle that's technically not a motorcycle, the Ural Gear Up. This thing is 100% stupid, but it's also 100% fun. If you're looking to get back into riding and want to have something that literally everyone will come up and talk to you about, then the Ural is perhaps one of the most attention-grabbing vehicles out there. They're also not as ludicrously impractical as they might seem. Spoiler alert, we actually have a video coming out later this week where we rented a Ural for the day and goofed around with it, and once you get used to it, it's actually a lot of fun. Just maybe don't take it to a twisty road, or a highway, or a straight road, or the dirt. Just kidding, you can take it wherever you want, but don't be surprised if it throws a tank slapper when you hit a crack in the road. It just does that. Lastly, something for the rider who wants all the fun of a motorcycle, but none of the noise and fuss and bother. An electric motorcycle is a great way to bop around town on two wheels, not have to worry about shifting or feathering the clutch if that's been keeping you from getting back on two wheels. Zero's S model might seem like it's the bargain bin choice when you compare it to the fancy SRF or SRS models, but at only $10,995 brand new, it makes a better case than a bike that costs almost 20 grand and can't even do 100 miles at a time. As a bop around town kind of bike, the S makes a lot of sense because it's lighter weight, it makes a more manageable 78 foot-pounds of torque, and with a charge tank you can get it from empty to full in 1 hour. They claim a range of 89 miles in the city, but given the way a normal person would ride it, expect that number to be closer to about 60 miles. But that is more than enough to get you to the office and back. If you're getting back into riding and want to check out an electric motorcycle, the S is the best way to do it. Fact, Boring, Oregon and Dull, Scotland have been sister cities since 2012. In 2017, they added Blandshire, Australia to their League of Extraordinary Communities. Goodbye.
Hey, thanks for watching the video. Why don't you click this one right over here and you can keep watching some more of your sweet Papa Yammie. Maybe this one will have fun memes in it. Maybe it'll be interesting. Maybe I crash a motorcycle. Who can say? Maybe you should click and find out.